Hi, I'm Rachel, welcome back to my channel, and today we're going to have some fun. We're going to head to some charity shops and see what bargains we can find and how we can update them to turn them into a high-end look. So grab a cup of tea and let's get some inspiration for your next DIY projects. These planters were the perfect design to create a tissue box cover. Funnily enough, there were two of these planters in this charity shop, one priced at £2.75 and one at £4.50. So I'll let you guess which of those you think I grabbed. And the great thing about going hunting in charity shops is not about finding the exact thing in your inspiration photo. It's about finding something that will do the job and create the feel that you're going for rather than an exact copy. And these planters weren't even in a tip-top condition because somebody had accidentally spilt paint on them at some point. So I had zero regrets about cutting these fake plants out of their holder. Other than maybe where all the polystyrene balls ended up. As I'm going to be painting this to more closely resemble the inspiration photo, it's a good idea to give it a quick clean with some water and vinegar to get rid of any dust that will inevitably come with those charity shop finds. This plant pot is just the perfect design to create a tissue box cover. Simply flip it over to create the hole of where your tissues will come out of, and then the bottom would naturally be where the tissue box can slide in. This material is probably water hyacinth and is so simple to cut with scissors, so very easy to mimic the box shape as well. And if you have a design like this, there's a chance you might get some thicker wires that you need to cut as well. That's when you grab the giant bolt cutters, and that's an easy fix too. Once you have your hole, you could stop here, especially if the colour of the plant pot that you have is already a good colour scheme for what you are looking for. As I'm looking to create a more similar design to the one in the inspiration, I'm going to give it a whitewash. To even more closely resemble the inspiration photo, I could have painted the box a warmer brown first before whitewashing with the paint. It really depends whether you'll want to create the idea of the look that you've seen or exactly copy it. And if the paint is thicker than you want it, simply spray it with some water and dab off the excess. And if you've got a material like this one, you might just want to add a touch of glue to the ends where you've cut, just so when you're pulling tissues out, it is not pulling at that material at the edges. And a bonus, if you find a box of tissues that is being sold off season, you might find them for even more of a bargain, and no one's ever going to know what box is hiding within your plant pot. This is such a simple way of getting a functional item like a tissue box and making it feel part of your home decor, especially when you don't want your gingerbread people box on display for the majority of the year. You can't ever go wrong with a quality photo frame made from wood, and this one was just £2 at the charity shop. And there are so many examples of beautiful wooden photo frames out there. But this isn't about how I can transform this into looking more like a higher end photo frame, it's about giving it a quick once over to improve a few of the little scratches and dents that is typical to find in things that you get from a charity shop from time to time. This photo frame had a few deeper scratches on the inner edge of the frame, and then a few visible but very shallow scratches on the outer edge of the frame too. I'm going to show you two techniques for how you can mask these scratches and get a beautifully finished photo frame. And you could apply these techniques to any piece of wood, decor or furniture. First things first, those shallow scratches on the outside. You can mask those with a mix of oil and white vinegar. Simply mix a small amount together and dab it over where you see those light scratches. And you wouldn't know from the result that there had ever been some shallow scratches there. Those deeper scratches needed a little bit more TLC. Using 180 grit sandpaper, I sanded the entire edge of the problem area. The nice thing about this lovely frame is that there's already so much colour and variety within these woods, which is going to make it easier to mask by building up layers of different stains. I started by doing a base coat for the background of a cooler toned stain. These stain pens by Varathane are brilliant. They come in a set of 5 or 6 different wood colours to help mimic the wood that you have. I simply created little lines that look like grain to build up the texture from where sanding had removed some of that surface grain. By using 1 or 2 different coloured pens, you can help mask those imperfections and get it looking good as new again. So whether you've got shallow or deeper scratches, you can help repair your wooden furniture or decor with these 2 simple techniques. This candle idea is so simple to do and such a fun way of giving some plain candles a bit of a makeover. My inspiration candles were from Anthropology, with such a simple design of hugs and kisses. The only thing you need to do before you're let loose on getting creative is to use some surgical spirits or rubbing alcohol on your candles first. This helps remove some of the shiny surface so that the Posca pen paint will adhere better. I discovered Posca pens when I lived in Japan many years ago, and I'm so glad that they're easily available in other parts of the world now too. Posca pens are a brilliant crafting tool to have. You could do any designs you like, you could write a message. I can imagine little candy canes at Christmas, little pumpkins in the autumn, drawing on candles with Posca pens. So simple and so much fun. Painting glass is such a great way to be able to give it a makeover and a completely different look. And if you're anything like me, you will find glass pieces, whether that's bottles or vases or bowls, constantly in the charity shop for a very good price. And when you have some bigger bouquets or branches that you want to display, you really do need that larger size of vase to show them off. This one was actually a little bit more expensive than normal. It was £12.50, but I think that's because it was such a good size. And a quick tip for removing any tricky labels is to use some nail varnish remover, and that's a great way for getting sticky residue off. And failing that, a hairdryer is great too. After giving the glass a clean, there's only really one thing that is going to make painting this glass a success, and that is an adhesive primer. In this case, I've got a product called Slick Stick, which I've had for many years and has done great work on covering shiny surfaces like a UPVC front door and also laminate furniture from IKEA. This product in particular needs 2 coats, and you don't get to the fun stage of painting until after 24 hours after the second coat has dried. This will leave it with a matte finish, which is exactly what you need before trying to add paint over the top of an originally slick or shiny surface. My main focus was initially to cover the ridges on the top where this glass had probably had a lid before. I wanted to mask that to give it a more organic look. The first thing you want to do before adding any paint is to create some texture within that vase. You can use several different products to be able to create texture, such as polyfiller, but I'm using some wood filler here. Some of my example photos were smoother than the one I created here, but what I love about this version is all the nooks and crannies just give it so much more colour and dimension. You really can't go wrong, and it's so much fun to play with. A lot of my inspiration photos have this natural stone coloured look and texture. So I'm starting with a natural colour. This one is Sawmill Gravy. It's a good idea to build up layers of harmonious colours that fit nicely together, even though some of them you're only going to have them peeking out from behind some of those layers. The most important paint colour to choose is the one that you want as your final top coat, because that will be what the majority of the vase will look like. To build up that contrast, you want some darker colours in there too. I've gone for this coffee bean brown, and it's already looking so much more interesting. But for any of the big blocks of colour, if you want it to be a little bit more subtle, simply spray it down, dab it with a tissue, and that will knock back some of the thickness. I finally ended with a creamy colour called Drop Cloth. So you've just got the hints of the brown popping through underneath. There's no right or wrong colour, it's all about building up those layers in a colour that will make you happy. And whilst you don't need to seal a vase like this, it's going to get minimal traffic and use and worrying about the paint chipping off. I am going to seal it because I want to add some wax that would again pull out the texture of the vase. It's a good idea to add a coat of clear wax first. This creates a barrier between the paint and the coloured wax. If you don't like how heavy your coloured wax is, you can simply buff that off again with a layer of clear wax if you need it. I love this brown wax. It just pulls out on those details and adds so much more texture and interest. Whether you prefer the smoother look from the inspiration photos or the more textural look here, it's just so much fun to play around and create a more interesting vase with a simple glass that you could do on vases, bottles or bowls. This is such a simple and pretty piece of decor that you can create. And as you can see, this hoop was just £1 from the charity shop. You can add extra beads, wrap the edge of the hoop as well, and cover over some of the string with extra decorations or flowers too. You don't want to start in the middle of the embroidery hoop for where you're wrapping, because that would make the flowers too high up and it wouldn't look balanced. So start about 2/3 of the way down, and if your twine or string is at risk of slipping down, you can add a touch of hot glue to the back to keep it in place. The more times you wrap the string, you'll be able to weave the flowers in and out a few more times, and it will just make it a bit more stable. Then on to the decorative bit. You can completely fill up the embroidery hoop or just add a few flowers here and there, depending on the look that you like. I cut down some dried flowers from a beautiful bouquet that I already had. So between the embroidery hoop costing only £1 in the charity shop, some string I already had and flowers I already had, this is such an affordable piece of decor that you would be able to create easily as well. I chose the pretty spring-like colours from my bouquet, so purples, yellows and whites, this really delicate, lovely look. And I trimmed all the stems down to the same height for a consistent finish, but you could equally curve them round with the shape of the embroidery hoop for a different style. Such a simple way to create some pretty floral decor that you can either hang on your wall, in a porch to welcome guests to your home, or even in your kitchen in pride of place. Something that just makes you smile when you look at it. Thank you so much for watching. Please let me know in the comments which one of these projects was your favourite, and are there any that you're going to recreate yourself? I would love to know. Thank you so much for watching. Until next. Hello. You've just come in, you can't possibly want to go out.